for KOS is as guidance unto those who respect knowledge and beauty, who reject ignorance and ignoring evil. Do you worship ignorance? The worship of ignorance creates fear. Is your mind in a state of fear? Then is a sign of worshiping ignorance. Idolatry is ignorance. All forms of ignorance creates fear. As we see, ignoring anything creates fear. Do you worship ignorance? Woe then any scholar who will seek to mock the way How do people mock? How do people mock God? You mock God by showing such ignorance to your sense. Sense is a powerful understanding. And without understanding the senses, and through understanding how to ignore the senses, we become senseless. You become moralless. You become imitative. There's a movie where it says, ignorance is bliss. Self being ignorant, ignoring self, is misquoted as the greatest bliss. Do you worship ignorance? The worship of ignorance is at an all-time high. Please do not curse Allah through your ignorance. Through your ignoring, you are cursing yourself. So please do not curse Allah through your ignorance. Not only for any acts of evil and ignorance of the Father, an obligation to which Allah shall hold every father accountable. Not only for any acts of evil, but also any act of ignorance of the Father, but any action of their children, parents who bring 3 or more children into lives of poverty and hardship do not honor Allah nor their community. Who seeks to breed in ignorance Who seeks to breed ignorance? Who seeks to breed, to worship ignorance? Do you worship ignorance? The worship of ignorance is at an all-time high. Self-ignorance is the friend of true evil. Self-ignorance masks itself as divine and entraps the ignorant souls. Knowledge is the friend of true faith in wisdom. Do you worship ignorance? The worship of ignorance is at an all-time high. Any saying which claims that wisdom and knowledge and science is a sin, and self-ignorance is a virtue, is a wicked lie by someone who worships demons, pretending to be God. Do you worship ignorance? The worship of ignorance is at an all-time high. Demons love ignorance. Ignorance is demonic. To ignore yourself is to bring the opposite. Let not a single saying praising ignorance. Do you release words that praise ignorance? Do you speak words that worship ignorance? Let not hate stand falsely in any sacred house of others. If such ignorance and evil is not moved, then you yourself must do everything in your power to honor knowledge and wisdom and remove ignorance. Self-ignorance. The first step towards knowledge and honoring balance, which is the will of your Creator, is for self to denounce. For self to denounce, willing yourself to ignore. First step towards knowledge is to self-denounce you yourself to not will to ignore. Knowledge with ignorance is a most dangerous state. All knowledge must be harnessed through self-discipline and self-virtue. Who preaches ignorance? Is it you? Are you preaching ignorance? Nothing is more wicked than the promotion of ignorance. This is the ignorance of the Umayyad who believe illness, mental illness, is because of curse. Do not believe such ignorance. Ignorance incites violence and hatred. All comes through ignorance. You yourself must reject the ignorance and the stupidity of anyone who worship anything as a deity. Do you praise ignorance? The worship of ignorance is at an all-time high. Do you worship ignorance? Education is the enemy of ignorance. Education is the enemy of ignorance. If anyone damage or even destroy a scriptorium, let them lose their head for such deliberate ignorance. No one can both love Allah and hate knowledge without being an idiot or an ignorant. Instead, protect yourself, the scholar. Protect yourself and respect yourself, the scholar, and allow yourself to learn. You yourself should not let no sorcery, nor ignorance, nor corruption to pass into your mind. For your mind is your sanctuary. To offer your life in the self-defense against those who preach and teach ignorance. No greater love can a person offer to the learning of love. Therefore, it is not mine, but your choice to live in ignorance or your choice to live in wisdom. If they tell you that ignorance is a blessing, then the gifts given to you by Allah should be enough to see through such evil and lies. Ignorance is no excuse. Can you believe? To believe is to surrender, is the surrender of ignorance. To believe, the belief is the surrender of ignorance, the surrender of doubt, the surrender of pettiness, and the surrender of self-harm. The unbelief is the willing ignorance. The one who ignores self is the unbelief. Your angels on the inside is your voice of reason against hate and your voice against ignorance. Your angels inside of you are your messengers of the divine. Thus, it is a tragedy of life, that those who die in ignorance, condemn themselves to a time in spirit. The abyss is the place formed by a life of ignorance. The abyss is the place formed by your life of self-hate. The abyss is a place formed by your life by self-deception. The abyss is a place formed by your life by self-disbelief. Thus, the abyss is part of existence, and where the waters are our own self-ignorance. A sacrifice in ignorance is none at all. Verily, a prayer to the Almighty out of ignorance or fear is like a broken soul that has lost its value. Do not call out for your own death out of ignorance or hatred for the gifts given unto you yourself. The greatest sadness then be the death of those who were not prepared, who celebrated their self-ignorance. but died without the true knowledge of Allah or their own self-purpose. Ignorance is never a blessing. You shall be judged soon enough as to what truly is in your heart. Did you yourself respect knowledge, or did you yourself worship ignorance? Therefore, you yourself do not need to be told the surety of words. If a person tells you a saying claimed to be from the great Creator that advocates evil, that advocates cursing, that advocates death, or that advocates ignorance, these are impostors. People will worship a pile of rocks in ignorance. And people will worship a pile of rocks as a symbol of the worship of ignorance. They prey upon the weak, and they prey upon the confused minds, that they may control them through ignorance. To overcome one's more baser emotions, to be better, to seek to make the world a better place, to fight against ignorance, to fight against corruption, to fight against self-deception, to honor through each action of self. Out of respect, one who truly respects knowledge. One who is not true, prey in ignorance. Any saying which claims the great God, Allah, calls for the murder of women and children, or for any torture, or for any hate, or for any ignorance over wisdom. All is false. It is for us to choose, you yourself, to honor our Creator of all things. Yet, all their scriptures are fake and full of ignorance. Above all, self-ignorance is the enemy. What ignorance be that the creator of all things would worship the destruction of that which he creates and he loves? You yourself. To give up something, you yourself, in ignorance, is no sacrifice but carelessness. Ignorance and fear are the only veils. Knowledge and virtues are the weapons to destroy them. Poverty breeds ignorance, whereas austerity sustains holiness. Such ignorance is the playground of demons. Do you worship ignorance? The worship of ignorance is at an all-time high. Poverty breeds self-ignorance. And self-discipline sustains your self-love.